Ladies and gentlemen, imagine giving up your dreams, your voice, your dignity, all in the name of love. Now pause. Why does that feel noble? Why does it feel expected? You see, from fairy tales to modern romance, women have been subtly programmed to believe that sacrifice equals worthiness. But what if I told you that the very things you think will make him stay are the things that quietly make you disappear? In this talk, I'm not here to coddle or charm, I'm here to confront. Because there are 5 dangerous, soul-draining choices that far too many women make for love, and they must never be made. Not once, not even for the one, and trust me, one of them is so common, you might be doing it right now without realizing. Spoiler, it's not cooking dinner every night unless your soul is on the menu. So stay with me, because if you walk away before the last one, you might miss the exact trap you've been falling into for years. There's a quiet erosion that happens when you begin to chip away at who you are to fit into the expectations of someone else. It starts subtly. Maybe it's changing how you dress because he made a comment about your style, or dropping a hobby because he never seemed interested in it. At first, it feels like compromise, like being a good partner. You tell yourself it's just about finding common ground. But over time, those small changes accumulate, and what you're left with is a diluted version of yourself. A person who mirrors someone else's preferences more than they reflect their own truth. Losing your identity doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's disguised as love. It's hidden in the little sacrifices you make to keep the peace, the way you avoid speaking your mind because you're afraid of being called too much or too emotional. It's when you stop voicing your needs because you're scared they'll push him away. You begin to filter yourself, not just in words, but in thoughts, in actions, and dreams. And slowly, your authentic self, the one that laughed too loud, dreamed too big, asked too many questions, starts to fade. You become quieter, more agreeable, easier to love. But at what cost? Somewhere deep down, you know when this is happening. You feel it in the hollow moments when you look in the mirror and don't quite recognize who's looking back. When you're surrounded by people and still feel unseen. When you're doing everything right and yet feel emptier than ever. That's not love. That's performance. That's self-betrayal wrapped in the costume of devotion. And here's the trap. Society often applauds this behavior. Women are celebrated for being selfless, for making sacrifices, for holding it all together. You'll hear things like, she gave up everything for him, as if it's a badge of honor. But giving up everything isn't noble, it's dangerous. Because when you give up everything, what's left? Who's left? Real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't demand that you shrink to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. A partner worth your heart will challenge you, yes, but never erase you. They will celebrate your individuality, not suppress it. They will support your growth, not feel threatened by it. And most importantly, they will love you as you are, not as they wish to mold you to be. Let's be honest, the pressure to conform can feel overwhelming. Maybe he's older, more experienced, more confident. Maybe he makes you feel like you're lucky to be chosen. And in that imbalance, you start thinking, if I just adjust a little more, maybe this will work. Maybe I'll be enough. But the truth is, if someone needs you to change to love you, then they don't actually love you. They love the version of you that they can control. It's easy to rationalize these shifts. You tell yourself, this is what love is, give and take. And that's true, but only when both sides are giving and both sides are taking responsibly. If you're always the one bending, you'll eventually break. And what's worse, you won't even know when it happened. You'll just wake up one day realizing you no longer laugh the same way, speak with the same confidence, dream with the same fire. Don't wait for that moment. Don't wait until you're so far removed from your own truth that finding your way back feels impossible. Your voice, your passions, your quirks, those are not weaknesses to be hidden. They are the very essence of your power. And anyone who truly loves you will never ask you to dim them. The fear of being alone often fuels this cycle. You stay, you adapt, you comply, all because you're afraid of starting over, of not finding someone better. But here's the reality. Losing yourself to avoid loneliness is a price too high. Because being alone and authentic is still 1,000 times better than being loved for a version of yourself that doesn't even exist. You are not a puzzle piece meant to fit into someone else's picture. You are the whole picture. And anyone who can't see that isn't looking closely enough. Let go of the idea that love means losing yourself. Let go of the need to be liked more than you are respected. And most of all, let go of the belief that you must earn love by becoming someone else. You were never meant to be a shadow in your own life. Loyalty is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can offer, standing by someone's side through struggles, through storms, through the uncertain paths that life throws. But loyalty without self-respect is not love, it's self-abandonment. And too often women confuse the two. They stay in relationships where they are dismissed, devalued, even humiliated, all under the illusion that they're being loyal. They believe that enduring pain is a testament to their strength, that their silence in the face of disrespect proves their love. But loyalty should never come at the cost of your dignity. Disrespect isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with screaming or name-calling. Sometimes it's subtle, being ignored in conversations, mocked for your ideas, interrupted when you speak. It's in the rolling of eyes, the jokes at your expense, the patterns of being blamed when things go wrong. It's when your boundaries are pushed, your voice is minimized, and your needs are treated as inconveniences. It's when you begin to shrink in your own relationship, wondering if maybe you're just too sensitive or asking too much. And then comes the manipulation. You know I love you. Don't be so dramatic. I didn't mean it like that. These phrases are designed to confuse, to plant doubt, to make you question your own reality. You start walking on eggshells, carefully choosing your words, constantly analyzing their tone, wondering what mood you'll come home to today. And through it all, you stay. You stay because you think loyalty means endurance. You stay because you remember the good moments and believe they'll come back. You stay because you were taught that leaving makes you weak, selfish, or ungrateful. But staying loyal to someone who repeatedly disrespects you isn't love, it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of being judged. And that fear is what keeps you tethered to pain, convincing yourself that things will get better if you just try harder, love more, stay quieter. But love isn't proven by how much pain you can survive. Love is proven by how much truth you can stand in. And the truth is, no matter how much you give, no matter how long you stay, someone who disrespects you will not suddenly learn to value you. They will only learn that your silence gives them permission to continue. Let's talk about the stories you've heard all your life, movies, songs, even family dynamics that glorify the idea of standing by your man no matter what. The woman who waits, who forgives, who suffers silently. She's portrayed as noble, as strong. But what they don't show you is what she loses in the process: her voice, her spark, her joy. They don't show the long nights spent wondering if she's enough, the years wasted trying to prove her worth to someone who was never looking. It's not disloyal to demand respect. It's not betrayal to walk away from someone who consistently treats you like you don't matter. In fact, it's the highest form of loyalty to yourself. You owe yourself the kind of love that doesn't require pain to prove its depth. You owe yourself the kind of loyalty that protects your peace, your values, your soul. Staying in a relationship out of fear, guilt, or obligation is not strength, it's survival. And you were not born just to survive. You were born to thrive. The hard truth is, you teach people how to treat you. If you stay after the cruel words, if you brush off the lies, if you minimize the hurt, you're silently telling them it's okay. You're setting a standard. And once that standard is set, it becomes the norm. The more you tolerate, the more you will be expected to. And one day you'll look around and realize that the love you fought so hard to protect no longer even resembles love at all. You deserve to be spoken to with kindness, even in conflict. You deserve to be considered, heard, cherished, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Disrespect doesn't build strong relationships, it erodes them from the inside out. And no amount of loyalty can hold together something that's built on hurt. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to say, I love you, but I love me too. It's okay to choose peace over chaos, even if it means being alone for a while. Because being alone and respected is always better than being together and slowly destroyed. There's a moment in many women's lives where a quiet decision is made not with words, but with actions, with hesitation, with silence. It's the moment when a dream is placed on a shelf, tucked away behind responsibilities, behind someone else's ambition, behind love. And it often doesn't feel like a sacrifice at first. It feels like support. You convince yourself that stepping back is temporary, that it's just until he gets on his feet, until the kids are older, until things calm down. But days become months, months become years, and the dream you once carried so boldly starts collecting dust in the corners of your soul. Women are often raised to believe that compromise is love, that being accommodating is feminine, that choosing others over themselves is noble. And while partnership is absolutely about give and take, it is not about giving up your very essence so someone else can feel comfortable. Your dreams are not side projects. They are not optional. They are extensions of your identity. When you abandon them for someone else's comfort, you're not just putting a pause on passion, you're rewriting your future based on someone else's script. It begins slowly. Maybe you passed on that job opportunity because the commute was too far and he wasn't sure how it would affect your time together. Maybe you stopped talking about your business idea because every time you did, he changed the subject or joke about how unrealistic it was. Maybe you turned down a scholarship, an internship, a collaboration because he didn't want to relocate or didn't want to share your attention. You tell yourself it's just one decision, that it's for the good of the relationship. But what happens when one turns into two, into five, into a lifetime? Comfort is a seductive thing. It lures you with the promise of peace, with stability, with predictability. But comfort at the cost of your calling, that's a betrayal. Not to him, not to the relationship, but to yourself. Because deep down, there's a voice that doesn't go silent. It whispers during quiet moments, during sleepless nights, during the pauses between doing everything for everyone else. It reminds you of what you once wanted, of who you once were. And that voice, that's the sound of your dreams trying to survive the suffocation. There is nothing wrong with being supportive, with compromising, with building something together. But there is something deeply wrong when only one person's dreams are being nurtured while the others are constantly put on hold. Relationships should be a space where both partners can thrive, not a place where one grows while the other shrinks. A love that asks you to abandon your purpose isn't love, it's control dressed in affection. It's dependency cloaked in partnership. Ask yourself, whose life are you really living? Are your choices yours, or are they constantly adjusted to keep someone else comfortable, unthreatened, secure? Because the truth is, people who truly love you will never want you to shrink to make space for them. They will want you to expand. They will cheer for you when you rise, even if it scares them. They will adjust to your growth, not expect you to dim your light so theirs can shine brighter. There's a myth that a woman's ambition is dangerous to relationships, that success makes you intimidating, that independence makes you less lovable. But this myth was never designed to protect love, it was designed to keep women small. And the longer you believe it, the more you'll give up pieces of yourself for a love that was never truly yours. Real love isn't afraid of your fire, it feeds it. If someone feels uncomfortable with your growth, that's not your cue to shrink. It's their opportunity to rise. And if they won't, that tells you everything. Because the person who genuinely sees you will see the brilliance in your dreams, not the threat. They'll understand that your fulfillment is not a betrayal of the relationship. It's an investment in your happiness, which is the relationship. Do not wait for permission to chase what sets your soul on fire. Do not keep choosing their ease over your evolution. You can be deeply in love and still be committed to your purpose. The two are not enemies. And if you ever have to choose between someone's comfort and your calling, remember, comfort fades, but regret lasts forever. There is a fine line between care and control, and too often it's blurred under the warm disguise of affection. At first, it feels flattering. Someone wants to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. It seems like love, like deep concern. You think, he just wants to make sure I'm safe, or he's protective because he cares. But care doesn't suffocate. It doesn't monitor your every move, question your choices, or subtly erode your independence. Control does. And once you start mistaking one for the other, you can lose yourself in the name of being loved. It doesn't always start with red flags. Sometimes it's in the little things. He offers to pick you up from work every day, not just once, but always. He insists on helping you decide what to wear, and his suggestions are always just a bit more conservative. He wants to be part of your decision-making, but only if the decisions lean his way. You rationalize these things because they seem sweet. You mistake his discomfort with your freedom for proof of his emotional investment. But control rarely looks like a threat in the beginning. It looks like attentiveness, like interest, like love. Then it grows. Slowly, subtly. You start hesitating before making plans with friends because you know he'll have a comment. You delete a social media post because you know it'll trigger a conversation about how you present yourself. You find yourself explaining normal things: why you're wearing makeup, why you stayed late at work, why your phone battery was dead. These explanations aren't requested gently, they're demanded with tension. You begin to feel guilty for having a life outside of him, and you start adjusting, not out of love, but out of fear. Here's the truth: love doesn't need to control. It doesn't need to monitor or correct or invade. Love trusts, love respects boundaries, love encourages autonomy. When someone uses care as a cover for control, what they're really saying is, I don't trust you to be your own person unless it's on my terms. That's not love. That's insecurity. That's manipulation. That's fear packaged as protection. A caring partner will want you to flourish. They'll want you to have friendships, passions, independence. They won't see your freedom as a threat to their importance. They won't need to control your schedule or your wardrobe to feel secure in the relationship. Real care empowers. It says, I believe in your judgment. Control says, you can't be trusted unless I'm overseeing it. But because control often wears the mask of care, it becomes easy to fall into its trap, especially if you've grown up around it, if your environment praised obedience, submission, silence. If you were taught that being loved means being managed, not being accepted, if past relationships rewarded compliance and punished assertion, in these cases you might not even recognize control for what it is. You might even think it's normal. So how do you know the difference? Start by checking in with yourself. Are you afraid to speak your mind? Do you constantly second-guess your decisions because you're worried about how he'll react? Have you started hiding parts of your life to avoid conflict? Do you feel smaller, more cautious, less joyful than you did before the relationship began? These aren't signs of love. They're symptoms of control. A healthy relationship makes room for two complete individuals. It celebrates your independence even while building connection. It allows for disagreement, for growth, for freedom. You don't have to shrink to be held. You don't have to disappear to be loved. And you certainly don't have to be micromanaged to feel protected. One of the most dangerous things about control is that it makes you doubt yourself. It makes you question your instincts. It convinces you that maybe you do need guidance, that maybe you are too impulsive, too emotional, too naive. So you start surrendering little pieces of your agency, thinking you're being loved more deeply. But love doesn't ask you to trade your judgment for peace. Love doesn't steal your power in exchange for affection. The scary part is how normalized this dynamic has become. In books, in movies, in songs, controlling behavior is romanticized. The jealous boyfriend is seen as passionate. The possessive partner is seen as deeply devoted. And so you grow up believing that being restricted is just a side effect of being desired, that being watched closely is a form of being wanted. But obsession is not love. Control is not care. You don't have to earn love by surrendering control of your own life. You don't have to feel guilty for wanting freedom inside a relationship. And you don't have to stay in situations where your individuality is being erased in slow, calculated steps. The cost of mistaking control for care is high because while you're busy trying to be loved, you're slowly being rewritten. And one day you may wake up a stranger to yourself, wondering when exactly you stopped being free.